You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Welcome back to the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Of course, today, it's a Monday, and people are trying to figure out how they could find green beer, green margaritas. I live in Southern Nevada, so we have a lot of margaritas and mojitos that they're probably going to try to make green. A lot of festivities, and then tomorrow, the day after St. Patrick's Day, you're going to see a lot of call-outs. And I'm expecting tonight to be a little busy with alcohol intoxication. You know, I love the Irish people. And, you know, the St. Patrick, the history behind St. Patrick is pretty fascinating. But it has now been such a celebration as it comes in the middle of Lent. And we're, taking advantage of the opportunity, I guess, to eat meat and celebrate. And, that people decide to take it to extra levels. And I don't mind that. In fact, when I was in medical school, there was a test we had the day after St. Patrick's Day. I think it was like on the 18th, and I forget of what year this was. And I remember our Irish student said, look, it's St. Patrick's Day tonight. You're going to have to move the test. And they did. They moved the test, probably because they were really religious, right? And so just interestingly, I love the story about St. Patrick. St. Patrick lived around the 5th century, and he was born in Britain, but he was kidnapped, brought to Ireland as a slave, according to History.com, by the age of 16, later escaped, but then returned to Ireland and was credited with bringing Christianity to its people. And so the story around St. Patrick, it's a very solemn one, but we like to have fun. So seeing that everybody now has an affinity and obsession with the color green today, all of a sudden everybody's Irish. The look of the Irish. And I think that's fine. But like Cinco de Mayo, know what Cinco de Mayo is so you're not celebrating it wrong. Just like St. Patrick's Day. Understand what St. Patrick's Day is. But people have always asked, what are we doing as it pertains to the green food dye? Is the green food dye a bad idea? Well, I never thought it was a bad idea when I was celebrating St. Patrick's Day, but apparently there have been some studies looking at green food dye and how it might be linked to bladder tumors. Now, the majority of the studies, when we look at these bladder tumors, have to do with rats. I don't know how many inhuman studies we have, but I remember back in the 80s, the FDA had to look at this going, I don't know if we should be consuming green dye, just like some of these other dyes that have now had to be banned because of their risk. To make a color so vibrant and beautifully green as a St. Patrick's Day green, the leprechaun green or the clover shamrock green, it takes a lot of chemicals and it takes a lot of choreography, shall we say. And so the Environmental Working Group does not recommend it. In fact, they say, yes, it is linked to cancer. That's a big no-no. They found a significant increase in bladder tumors, the green dye number 3. So green 3 is the one. Now, I don't know much about green 2 or green 1 and if there are other options, but my guess is the less bright and fluorescent and vibrant a food dye, possibly the safer, but then people wouldn't use it. Don't they in Chicago dye the river green? And wasn't there an environmental issue? Let me see if I have that. I spoke about that last year where they had to rethink the dyeing of the river. So they said as Irish immigrants spread out over the United States, this is according to History.com, Chicago began the annual dyeing of the Chicago River green. This started in 1962. When city pollution control workers used dyes to trace illegal sewage discharges and realized that the green dye might provide a unique way to celebrate the holiday. So they released 100 pounds of green vegetable dye into the river to keep it green for a week. Now, in order to minimize environmental damage, they're only using 40 pounds of dye, and the river turns green only for several hours. So apparently this idea dated back to the 1800s, where I think a restaurant owner, Tom Woolley, decided to dye one of Savannah, Georgia's rivers green. So, yeah, that's pretty and all that, but it looks like, especially now with RFK Jr. at the helm of HHS, we're going to probably start seeing a little bit more research into what we're doing with our green dyes and if it's the safest thing to do. Is it a sacrilege, or are you not celebrating St. Patrick's Day correctly if you drink a normal colored beer and not a green beer? I think you're okay. In fact, if you're really celebrating the Irish, then you're purchasing Irish whiskey. And then it's not about the green mojitos or the green margaritas or appletinis. Some people are like, let's go out for appletinis, Daliah. Yeah, that's nice because it's green. I guess, it's our way of celebrating the Irish. But the problem is do the Irish really want to be known for, people over drinking and getting drunk and calling out of work? That's not what Ireland's about. So just take a moment, understand that St. Patrick's Day has a very solemn history to it. St. Patrick was a saint. You should understand the history a little bit more. And when you do drink tonight, try, please, in moderation, okay? All right? You do not have to act like, this is a calling, to be completely drunk and throwing up. And some people say, well, my throw up is green. This idea of getting pinched when you don't wear green, it causes a lot of anxiety. I told the family, I was like, guys, don't forget you got to wear green. They're like, Mom, nobody pinches you anymore. I always got pinched. People were always pinching me. Maybe it's because my butt's in the way, but I don't like the pinch. The pinch hurts. And so there's, part of St. Patrick's Day and part of that whole sort of tradition is being fearful that somebody's going to assault you with taking two fingers, right? Loving the bumper today, Daniel, and pulling your skin and pinching. We do not want any hematomas or purpura on this day, and try to avoid green dye. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show. On YouTube, click like and subscribe. We're going to be adding a bunch more videos. Interesting because Facebook Live is now erasing all the old videos. We're going to be moving a lot of those videos to YouTube. So you will get to see some of my old shows. So go to YouTube and click like and subscribe and get access to those. And then, of course, if you ever miss a show, go to drdaliah.com. So over the weekend, the 911 operator call, an interaction with the survivors of the Idaho student murders was released. And, you know, most of us listened to it, and there has been a lot of criticism of the operator and also praise of the operator. And I kind of want to explain what's going on with that, because when you listen, a lot of people are thinking that the operator is rude, condescending, ordering, not allowing other people to speak. And there, there's a process. God bless our 911 operators being calm, cool, and collected. But a lot of people are kind of concerned that, she wouldn't let other people speak. So we'll review that. But just in reference to what happened, authorities in Idaho released the 911 call on Friday following the quadruple homicide that happened in Moscow in Idaho, November 13, 2022. So the call appears to be from somebody who knew the girls, but didn't necessarily live there. She was sobbing, she was panting, she was short of breath, and the phone gets passed to another person. And then a gentleman gets on the phone, and the 911 operator didn't seem to want to speak to him. He was the only one that didn't sound like he was crying and didn't sound like he was panting. So I think he could have given some pretty good report. But she's like, look, the phone has been passed around 4 times. I need to talk to the person. I need to talk to only one person. So the phone went back to the woman who was sobbing and who was kind of out of breath and panicking, and how it was originally surmised and assessed was that her friend was passed out and not waking up. Now, they didn't talk about blood. They didn't talk about any sign of struggle. They just couldn't wake up her friend, who seemed to be, quote unquote, passed out. They also said near the end of the call that there was a gentleman in the house, and that there was a man in the house. But there's a lot of confusion about this case, because when the 911 call happened, it was hours after the murder, and it didn't look like they understood what happened, in terms of there being a murder, and it was chaos, and you could tell by the 911 call. So a man then got on the phone, and then the dispatcher asked him to stop passing the phone around. And then the man tried to tell her that the woman was not breathing. Fortunately, the police arrived very quickly. So the 911 operator stayed on the phone with them. And you could hear then the police come, and then she ended the call. So, before everybody starts to criticize her, and I understand she didn't seem to be the most empathetic, and understand that the 911 operator's job is not to hold your hand and cuddle you. And their job is to, 1, direct the correct authorities to the house, and number 2, get the correct address, which she verified, and she did that exactly right. Number 3 is to give you instruction in case you need to provide medical care. Many of these 911 operators will walk you through giving Narcan if they think somebody had overdosed on a narcotic, or they will walk you through CPR, or if they think you're in danger, walk you through that. Their job is not to go, oh, sweetie, I'm here for you, I'm your best friend. You're not going to get empathy from the 911 operator, okay? Would it have been nice for her to let the other one speak? Yes. But mind you, it was a very chaotic call. And, being that somebody passed out, a college student passed out, that's probably a pretty common call the 911 operator is getting. And so if there's college students calling and she's like, look, I just need to kind of discern this, people, this might not have been her first rodeo. And she was, expecting to have to kind of guide them and direct them and focus them to try to get the history and the report that she needed to convey over to law enforcement. But praises should be going to the 911 operator because she did get the authorities to the right address. They were already on the way. She kept the witnesses on the phone. She tried to still get an account of the history, and then she did the best she could trying to, ask the right questions. And so, every time a 911 call comes out, everybody seems to criticize the operator going, there was a murder, there was a quadruple murder, or there was a whole family that was murdered, or this. And they were cold and rude. And you don't understand. A 911 operator is supposed to be unbiased, assuming, they're supposed to be a relay and give direct instructions. It's not going to be a real lovey-dovey, right, emotional, empathetic phone call. Now, I know people are looking for that. If you've ever called 911, all right, and you're scared and you're nervous, and there might be some people that go, okay, we got you. Just, I want you to breathe. All right. Just breathe carefully and let's get, an accurate history. If a 911 operator is not getting the history they need from somebody who is panicking, and they might ask if there's somebody else there who can give report. So I did find it a little unique that she was saying the phone is getting passed around. I think the reason why that happened is they need a non-variable, individual calling the report. It's very difficult for a 911 operator to have 5 different voices and 5 different narratives going on. So she needed the person to call, they identify themselves, and then the story. So otherwise they have to go caller number 1, caller number 2, caller number 3, or individual number 3 or 4. It did seem like one of the individuals was about to give some report, but she didn't want to hear from him. So I understand that's kind of where all this came from. But still a lot of questions as to what's going on while we're waiting to see what happens to Brian Kohlberger, the 30-year-old who was charged with the 4 counts of murder in the deaths of Ethan Chapin, Zana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kayleen Goncalves. And Kohlberger was a criminology PhD student. He was arrested 6 weeks later and accused of the slayings. He denies involvement in the crimes. And investigators, looked at DNA of his that was found on a brown leather Ka-Bar knife sheath found next to Morgan's body. And at the time of the murders, 2 of the roommates, Mortensen and Bethany Funk, lived with Mogan Goncalves. It was a 3-story house. They were inside of the home at the time, but we believe they might have been downstairs. In fact, there was some reports that one of them thought there was somebody in the house. So the one in the basement said, come downstairs, you could sleep in my room. And you kind of question, why didn't they leave? So there was a lot of confusion. If there was drugs involved or somebody intoxicated, they might not have thought clearly. But hopefully we'll get more clarity. The 911 call didn't give us the clarity we needed. It just showed how chaotic the scene was and how many hours later it was reported. I've lived with roommates, until I married my husband, and I never went into their room. I never lived in a house. We always lived in an apartment, so it was pretty easy to tell if something was going on in the next room. And I was pretty communicative with my roommates, but I lived with some people where I just didn't know what they did. They didn't know. They kept the door closed. Who knows? But to think that something like this could happen in the house, and they think that somebody's in the house, but they're scared and they don't leave. Now, mind you, it was November 22nd. It was very cold. It was snowy. And when some people are scared, they might think to just bunker down. And depending on what the details are, we might want to later have a conversation of, is that what the younger generation now thinks to do? Where if there's danger, rather than them fight or leave, they bunker down. That's a conversation worth having to figure out what education they need. 1-877 Doc Dali. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. So Democrats' approval ratings have sunk to historic lows. No surprise there. And this is being reported by a couple of polls. We're being told by the New York Post that an NBC News poll said only 27% of Americans say they like the job the Democrats are doing. That means that according to the New York Times, Dems are now held in lower esteem than lawyers, undertakers, and car salesmen. In fact, they say Democrats have become so unpopular that more Americans believe that aliens are among us than agree with the Democratic Party. Then a CNN poll showed Democratic favorability at 29%, the lowest rating in their 33-year history of the survey. 54% have an unfavorable view. Now, these polls were taken, I think, right before Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's decision not to block the Republican budget bill. But I've been always fascinated by voter psychology. When I see these political pundits and these politicians, do what they do, and they don't actually look at the psychology of the voter, and they don't read the room, they run into these issues. Trump's approval rating hit an all-time high of 47% per the NBC News poll. And Republicans are faring better with the 36% favorability rating. Now, still nothing like 90-some%, but it's showing that a lot of Democrats, about 63% of Democrats, reported having a favorable view of the party, down 18 points from 81% 4 years ago. And so, I want this country to move forward. Okay, I don't want it to be single party rule, but I think a lot of people are seeing that one party in the recent weeks after following the last 4 years might be more about common sense. And the Democrats cannot lose that argument. They tried to make Republicans look like they were so far right and so fascist and so off the deep end that the Democrats were the sensible party. No, they did not look sensible in the last 4 years. They looked fascist. They looked off the deep end. When you would hear that, girls did not want to have to shower in the locker room with biological boys, and having Title IX there to protect them all of a sudden gets changed. Oh, no. It's changed to protect the boys from being able to shower and the girl. Yeah, parents are like, come on. What? The electric vehicle mandate. That was ridiculous. If you want to buy an electric vehicle, that's wonderful. That's fantastic. But don't try to tell us they're better for the environment when you can't extinguish them in a fire. They weigh more. They emit more tire pollutants. And the lithium-ion battery is an environmental disaster. What? Don't lie. And that was another big thing with this auto pen. And we're going to be talking about later. Did the auto pen null and void Biden's pardons? Which we're going to be talking about later. But with Biden saying, oh, I'm not going to make you show us your papers. And then all of a sudden, when it came to the vaccine, people were getting kicked out of restaurants. They were getting kicked out of school, lost their jobs. Okay, wait a second. That wasn't pretty American. That wasn't democratic at all. You're firing our military because they don't want to get a shot? Are you kidding me? And so it went the wrong way. And Americans, thank God, started to buck this idea of you're not going to cancel me. I'm not going to lose my job because I support one political figure than another. And that's what it was like. You voted for Trump? Okay, and you had to hide that years ago. No, you shouldn't have to hide anything like that. You should be proud to be an American. You should be proud of your vote. It's nobody's business who you voted for. But you shouldn't be blackmailed. You shouldn't be coerced. Now, I have a big problem with the way the last elections were, where you had no privacy when you voted. I showed a picture of how you can easily see the person next to you. It wasn't a nice private booth with a curtain or nice side dividers. They've really narrowed those down. Why? Because they wanted to intimidate you? So you felt like, oh, okay, everybody's looking, so I can't vote for who I want to? I mean, what the hell are they doing? And people are fighting back. Now, some people are saying the reason why the Democrats are mad is because they're bowing to Trump. They're not fighting back. Okay? And so some Democrats are mad at the Democratic Party because they really want them to fight. They want the extremes. Remember, there are still extremes on both sides. And those people exist. But what do the majority of Democrats want? Well, they want a secure border. They want jobs. They want a good economy. They want to know that their kids are safe. They want to know if their daughter is playing in a sport, she's not going to be overwhelmed by somebody who is stronger and bigger than her and hurting her, causing traumatic brain injury. They want to make sure that their children could go to a park and not get raped in broad daylight because somebody who is from Trinidad or an illegal migrant who's a criminal. Now, and they want a choice into, look, I like my car. I don't have the money for a new $50,000 vehicle. Pump the brakes. Let me do what I need to. And so I don't think they're listening. Now, I thought it was a fascinating discussion when a Democrat went up to Biden furious about the student loan repayment when he had just paid off his student loans. I mean, the Democrats kind of messed up with that one. You have a lot of Democrats that paid off $80,000, $100,000, $200,000 in student loans only to find out that they missed it by a week or two. Now, other people who defaulted or blew off the payments and weren't diligent get rewarded by getting written off. That's not what Democrats want. So I think there really needs to be a reading of the room. And I noticed that when CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whoever would be asking these questions, you would hear the Democrats speak up, but it might not have made news on some of the liberal media outlets. So then Democrats are not listening. They're only hearing what the media thinks they want to hear. Meanwhile, you had Democratic voters going, no, this isn't what I want. This is getting ridiculous. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I understand that, with the stock market going up and down with tariffs, things like that. I think Trump was right in saying, guys, be patient. It's going to be a little bumpy at first. It will be. He's not going to come in. I told you, he's not going to come in and egg prices are going to automatically go down and gas will automatically go down. And everybody's like, well, the stock market decides what the economy is. The stock market is the psychology of the investor. And people are trying to think, what is going to be the next viral thing? What's going to Ozempic, Lilly, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, what is going to be driving people to buy the stock? Is it going to be a media article on a weight loss pill? And if that's going to be a headline about weight loss pills, then people may jump to buy that pharmaceutical stock. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the only key indicator as it pertains to the economy. And stocks are going to go up and down, especially if they were very inflated. NVIDIA, I'm glad it went up. I had an NVIDIA stock, but really to that degree? So, I think overall people are happy, except the federal workers. The federal workers not happy, and I don't blame them. Even though Trump needs to downsize the government, it could have been done a different way. But for the most part, people seem happy. So, read the room. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I trained in Southern Nevada, and I trained at UMC Hospital. They had us training at other hospitals as well, like Valley and Sunrise, but most of my work was at UMC Medical Center. And I think it was one of the best hospitals ever. Why? Well, because me and my fellow doctors and staff busted our ass. We would check on you in the middle of the night. Everybody knew what they were doing. We rarely lost anybody that I could remember. I think we did a damn good job. And yes, I did have an issue there when I was a patient where it didn't seem, and I could understand if the nurses weren't paying attention to my monitor, they might have been busy, and I had to alert them because apparently I was in a 13-minute contraction. It almost killed my son. But I don't blame the hospital for that. I blame that was a bad day because I had been there for so many years that I love the hospital. It's a great hospital. Just that was a bad hour, shall we say, where things could have gone really, really bad. But whenever I look at these rankings, I'm like, why isn't the hospital I trained at up there? And then when I also look at these rankings, I'm wondering if it really ticks you all off. Because you see these hospitals and you see how they're ranked and you're reading where they are and you're like, well, I'll never get to go there. I'm going to be in a hospital not on the list. And then you get sad that you're not going to be at the best hospital and that you may have a bad outcome as a result of that. So I don't know how good these stories on rankings really do. But I'm telling you right now, I mean, if you live in Las Vegas, Nevada, our hospitals are fantastic. Southern Hills, Summerlin, Valley, Virginia, because I know a lot of the doctors and I know a lot of the staff. They're pretty damn good hospitals. They might not have made this 250 world list, but there's good hospitals. So don't panic if your hospital isn't on the list. This list that came out a few weeks ago was the World's Best Hospitals 2025. It was global data from Statista, and they say the number of hospitals worldwide is projected to be 215,977 by next year. There's an overwhelming number of hospitals to choose from. I don't know. I don't think people have that choice. So they said to help close the gap, because of all these choices people have, I don't think people have a choice, not when their insurance limits them to only one company and brand of hospital. They, though, decided, Newsweek and Statista, decided to present the world's best hospitals to narrow it down if you get to sit there and make a choice on where you get to have the ambulance take you. I think that's ridiculous, by the way. But it is nice to know how they are ranked. So they ranked the best hospitals in 30 countries, including Australia, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, India, Israel, Italy, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, Netherlands, Norway, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Taiwan, Thailand, and United Arab Emirates, as well as the UK and US. And the ranking was based on extensive evaluation processes, including an online survey of thousands of medical experts, doctors, hospital managers, healthcare professionals, patient experience data, hospital quality metrics, like the PROMS implementation survey, which is the patient-reported outcome measures, which are standard validated questionnaires completed by patients to measure their perception of their functional well-being and quality of life. And so number one, by the way, was American. It was the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Now, the Mayo Clinic is fantastic. It really is a good hospital. But I'll probably never get to go there. That's just not in my area. Cleveland Clinic made number two. Bravo. Cleveland Clinic is fantastic out of Cleveland, Ohio. Toronto General came in number three. Johns Hopkins in Baltimore came in number four. Karolinska Institute in Sweden came in number five. So those were the top five. Number six was Massachusetts General in Boston. Charité, Universitätsmedizin in Germany. Sheba Medical Center in Israel. Singapore General Hospital in Singapore. And then Zurich's Universität Hospital in Zurich. I was in Zurich. I should have visited that hospital. That would have been nice. But that rounded out the number 10. Also, hospitals that ranked high was Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, which I trained there. Stanford Healthcare in Stanford. Mount Sinai Hospital, New York. Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. Cedars of Sinai, where I was born, in Los Angeles. It was at the time Cedars of Lebanon. Northwestern Memorial in Chicago. USF in San Francisco. These are nothing new. These are fantastic institutions. University of Michigan Health in Ann Arbor made the list. Mayo Clinic Jacksonville in Florida. Duke University Hospital in North Carolina. Tel Aviv Medical Center. So, I mean, these things are not, not surprising. It's just what is kind of surprising to me is, yeah, we have these wonderful hospitals, but the average American doesn't necessarily get to go to them. And so why aren't all hospitals making the list? If we have a standard that Mayo Clinic, that Cedars-Sinai, that Brigham, that all these other hospitals, UCLA, have, why aren't all the hospitals having that standard? What's wrong? Is it they're not getting the funding? Is it that they're not getting the media attention? So if nobody hears about, I don't know, the Daliah Community Hospital, it will never make the list. What is it that there's not enough staff? Is it that they struggle to have doctors because they're not associated with the university? See, when you're associated with the university, there's doctors all over the place. When you're in a community, you have to hope these doctors come in and see patients in order to give them, in order to have privileges there. You have to see an X number of patients, or you have to have they call them hospitalist groups that'll go in and see patients for you. But when I see these world's best hospital lists, all of our hospitals should be the best. And so here, patients are looking at their insurance. They don't even know what their hospital is. And then this acts like you get to make a choice. You don't get to make a choice. So how do you get to go to a good hospital? Well, what you need to do is what makes a good hospital? I mean, for me, it's not leaving me in the waiting room for hours, not letting me bleed out, not missing my diagnosis, getting me better. All of our hospitals have that ability to do that. And so I understand this is based on surveys and all these doctors agree. But I got to tell you, when I would sit there in the middle of the night with my patients holding their hands and keep them company, and if other hospitals don't do that, I don't see how they fare as high. When we have the patient outcomes that we did, if that doesn't make the news, it doesn't make the ratings. And I think that frustrates me. And so any insurance that you have should provide a hospital that you trust that's good. And if it's a hospital you don't trust and you want a different hospital, you're going to have to change insurances. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.